Hello, investors. This is Connor Bates, Associate Portfolio Manager with Revere Asset Management. Today is Friday, January 31st, 4:21 p.m. Eastern Time. Coming to you with tonight's Revere Roundup Daily Market Insight video. Markets today still in an uptrend, and if we look at the trend gauge, not quite the four coveted green arrows, but market leaders we have under neutral. Still a mixed bag, stock pickers market, and after Monday's carnage, some of those names have seen some decent bounces, but coming into declining moving averages and overhead. And the names that are really working are just a select few. So mixed bag out there right now. Short term, we're trading above the 21 EMA. Medium term, above the 50-day, but price is getting closer to that. And small caps had a pretty harsh rejection there today. And then long term, we're trading above the 200-day moving average. And what happened today? Well, very weak close to end a volatile week. There were some tariff talks again in the afternoon, and that prompted the S&P to sell off over 1% into the close. Here are the final numbers: 21 over 21 list down 1.96%, 5 green, 16 red. Big 8 flat on the day, up 0.06%. And then RG8 down 0.75%. 60/40 stock and bond down 0.83%, and GROTECTION down 0.79% on the day. Get into the interasset correlation. Start with charting the S&P 500, and still looking pretty constructive, just very volatile. Strong move here off this low down here at 57.73, shot up, and now we're struggling back with that 6,100 level. Pretty ugly bar today, but got all the moving average support here. But this starts to break the moving averages along with 6,000. That wouldn't be a good look. And you can see on the intraday, started off good, opened up, broke opening range highs right up into 6120, built a lower high, and then kind of plummeted into the closing low a day. Take a look at 60 minutes, see what this, and it's very choppy, V-shaped move here, and then you obviously get that gap down, another V-shaped move here. So it's definitely a very choppy market right now. But if you zoom out to the weekly, looks fine. Holding above the 21 week as well for now. So, next week should be interesting as well, but maybe we're just building out a flag here before moving higher, or, the other side is if we break the 50-day on volume, that would not be a good look. RSP kind of forming a little shelf here. At least this one's holding above the 50-day, a little tight range here. The Q's down about 0.15% today, and again, another ugly bar closing low of the day. I'll show you the intraday, and similar thing as the S&P, just kind of plummeted into the close. Got this moving average support here, but again, could argue continue to make lower highs here. So, the trend looks fine, but daily time frame, a lot of chop, a lot of volatility, a lot of fake outs. So, mags, this one looks pretty good, kind of consolidating here at the highs, kind of coming against the downtrend line here. The Dow backed off that 45,000 level, which makes sense. Again, just a lot of V-shaped bounces here off the lows. I think it'd be constructive if this could handle out. Mid caps closing back right at the 50-day, down 0.9% on the day. And again, got that initial move up. Now I'd like to see this hold the upper 50% of this move. And, if this can just consolidate in this flag, maybe that could set up for higher. Russell 2000, big value here at the 50-day. And, relative weakness versus the equal weight in the mid caps, but also rejecting this, 2,300, this important level here back here at that high. And if we look at the weekly, it's no, long-term trending up, but short-term just back and forth, a lot of choppy action. ARC, this one's holding up well, poked its head above this 63.44 high. Again, kind of a V-shaped bounce here. Maybe this handles out here, but ARC names are certainly working. FFTY to track the leaders. Rejecting the 50-day here and just very choppy, no smooth trend. VIX. popping back up today, up almost 7%, back above 16. Can just definitely feel the volatility in the market right now. And hallmark of volatile market is big intraday reversals, whether that be up or down. And we're seeing that. And there's a lot of headlines going on in the market right now. And when you're in a erratic, news-driven, event-driven market, you just get that unwanted volatility, and it can swing the P&L quite a bit. The dollar, strong bounce here off the 50-day moving average. This chart objectively still looks super bullish. Big move up, pull back to the 50-day and bouncing. Gold, but not phasing gold too much. This is coming out of a flat base. Strong move up here once it reclaimed the 50-day. And, two snares, maybe this continues to trend higher or handles out. But, the weekly here looks fantastic. And ever since that 20-year cup and handle monthly breakout, this continues to move higher. Gold stocks as well, holding above the 200-day, and might start to flag out here. Silver relative weakness versus gold. Bitcoin relatively weak today, rejecting this downtrend line breakout, but 50 days catching up. So would like to see this hold, the low end of the range down here. Maybe it just needs some more time before going on another run. Bonds kind of just forming a little tight 5-day consolidation, TLT, just kind of trying to move up here off the lows. Rates again look pretty bullish. This to me looks like, a bull flag here after a big move up. TNX 10-year as well. This is kind of setting up a bull flag here, which isn't the best for the markets, but we saw some of the rate sensitive sectors come back down today with this up 1.26% on the day. Alrighty, that's the inter-asset correlation. Let's take a look at the tail of the tape. So some sentiment wise, the NAM exposure index, that was like 85 the other week. That's back down to 68. So clearly some people got stopped out. News, just the tariff stuff continues to circulate. Apple with a pretty negative earnings reaction. It was up initially after hours and a really ugly candle today, closing low of the day. And then PCE was this morning. Everything came in line, pretty muted reaction as well. Today's keys, S&P versus 6,000, 6,100, holding 6,000, rejecting 6,100. Qs closing just above the 50-day. Russell hard rejection of the 50-day. And then these AI data center bounce day 4, kind of mixed bags. Some of the semiconductors were more weak than the power generation names. But with the market pulling back, a lot of them closed pretty weak and ran into some left side resistant levels and backed off. 9 days consolidation, 4 days above the 8, 12 days above the 21. And sectors wise, software was strong, gold, cybersecurity, communications, weakness, Bitcoin, energy, home builders, retail, uranium, and biotech. And then in-house today, we added to UPRO and Tesla and then sold TNA QLD. So volatility, beta is 1.24 and balance at risk is 4.37. And the bottom line, week close to end a volatile week for the market. All right, so let's get into the all right, let's take a look at Apple. Super ugly day. I mean, the earnings, there was virtually no growth, and this initially gapped up and then just bearish engulfing back below the 50 and 21. Yeah, it's not exactly what you wanted to see. So that's Apple. Let's take a look at the 21 over 21 list from winners to losers. Palantir, again, super strong move, but this is, I think, some of the issue with these names is these are V-shaped moves into left side resistance, and sometimes that can create a double top setup when you get those, sharp pullbacks and then even sharper moves back up with no constructive basing. So, and sometimes you can see these find resistance at those left side peaks and reject, but shot back up. Maybe this one handles. That would be good earnings in 3 days, but nevertheless, up 1.56%. Snow was off to a good start today, came back in with the market. This chart's still looking pretty good. APP, again, this one looks good as well, just kind of building a range here. Up 1.12%, their report in 12 days. Like how the 50 days caught up to this one. Reddit, again, TML right here. 3-day tight consolidation right at 200 Livermore level. This one holding up really well. Dash, another one that's holding up really well. A lot less volatility here. Coming back up the right side. CYBR, another one in that cyber software security, minimal volatility, just trending up. HWM, aerospace and defense name, kind of starting to flag here at the highs, looks pretty good. DE, again, this one's forming a flag right here after this strong move up. IBKR, this one is again tight inside day and kind of flagging up here at the highs. EQT, this one came back down with some of those data center names, found support at this 48 level, 3-day bounce, day 4 consolidation. That's kind of what we're seeing a lot of these names. But nevertheless, this one looks pretty good. And I did note that a lot of the natural gas names held up better than, some of the other ones. Bros, awesome action from this one. Just continues to trend higher, tight inside day. Twilio, I would say this is the leader in the software sector and just hanging out around high, short term, a little bit extended. SC, another one, came back up through this 119.47 pivot, but backing off a little bit. TKO holding up right at the highs. AEM, this is another gold miner breaking out of a nice base and just some really nice bases in the sector. Obviously, sector went quiet for a couple months into the end of 2024. And that's what happens when things go into base building. And that sometimes, and then coming out of bases can offer great setups. Robinhood, I would say this one is the leader for crypto fintech, tight inside day as well. After this breakout here, this one continues to move higher. Zillow kind of trying to form a cup and base here. CEG, this is kind of somewhere we're seeing got that 3-day strong bounce up and now consolidating. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this consolidate up here. Because percent wise, these moves off the lows were quite big for many of these names that got hit from the deep sec news. Ralph Lauren, minimal volatility, trending higher. ON. So this one got hit today, down almost 6%. And this was in sympathy with Decker's earnings today. Decker's closed the day down 20% on earnings. They actually beat by like 46 cents and actually guided up. So pretty harsh break here, down 20% on huge volume. So this one needs to hold the 200-day moving average. But bringing ON down a little bit, but not to the velocity that this was down today. Let's take a look at some. So I mentioned those. Let's take a look at the AI deep sec list. See the winners. CRDO, just super strong off the lows. CLS again, this had earnings, this was earnings day and then it followed up. But again, running into this left side resistance, backed off there. ALAB, 4 days up in a row into some overhead resistance, declining moving averages. ARM was pretty notable today. This stood out as some relative strength in a rather weak tape for semiconductors, especially with NVIDIA, just can't bounce. And this one can get back through 164.16. That'd look pretty good. Envis, another one, 4 days up in a row, coming into declining moving averages overhead. My expectation would be for these to pause or pull back a little bit, but you never know. But I would be shocked to see these just shoot back up to highs given the volume and the velocity of these moves down. Avgo, similar thing here. Marvell, similar thing here. So, the conclusion is I think next week should be super interesting for these names because from a shorts perspective, these could be setting up shorts here against moving average resistance. But as long as these lows continue to hold, I think it's constructive. So some scenarios are build some higher lows, flag out here, consolidate, and next week we should see what they have in store. NVIDIA, on the other hand, this is closing the week below the 200-day moving average, and this might be too obvious, but this is a pretty classic bear flag here. Big move down, try to rally up, rejected, and if this one takes out Monday lows, don't think that will be good for the semiconductor sector as a whole. Some notable relative strength today. HIMS, monster move, breaking out into new highs, relative strength line, new highs as well. So, not affected by all that stuff, and in a completely different sector. This one's holding up pretty well and definitely standing out. So if this one pulls back, Oklo, this one's another one from that Monday morning gap down. This one obviously only gap down to the 21. So all in all, it's actually pretty normal. Said 4 days, 3 days up in a row, was up quite a bit this morning, pulling back in. Some other names that held up pretty well today. Rocket Lab, these space stocks still look pretty good, forming a little tight range here below this 30 level. And take a look at the big tech. There was Google. This one's coming out of a base really nicely here. Amazon, again, one of the leaders. Tesla, this was off to a really hot start today, was breaking this downtrend line, came back in and closed near the lows. So we'll have to see. Got a lot of support here at 400 along with the 50-day. Netflix post earnings flag here. Meta continues to act well after this base breakout. Microsoft relative weakness, tight inside day after that gap lower on earnings. Apple, very ugly candle, which I mentioned, and then Nvidia. Really want to see this reclaim the 200-day going into next week. Quite the week, that is for sure. Tons of volatility in the market, and it seems like it is a tape where you want to, kind of buy weakness, sell strength, which can be, sometimes tougher when you're a position trader. But always just listening to the market, adapting to the environment that it brings. And as always, we'll be here every day the market is open, giving our thoughts and covering what we did as a portfolio. So that is everything I've got for today. As always, love to hear from you guys. My email is connor@revereasset.com. You can always find me on X at ConnorJBates_. And you can always reach out to Dan or Don at revereasset.com. Phone is 855 Real Wealth. That is 855-732-5932. And if you're ever interested in becoming a client, as always, please reach out. And that's going to wrap it for Friday, January 31st. This is Connor Bates with Revere Asset Management, telling it like it is. Thank you guys for watching and have an awesome weekend.